Have you ever wondered how solar panels are made? The first solar panel was invented by Charles Fritts in 1883, where he coated a thin layer of selenium with an extremely thin layer of gold. The resulting cells had a conversion electrical efficiency of only about 1%. This invention led to the launching of a movement for producing solar energy. Solar panels, remarkable devices that capture and convert this solar energy into electricity, have revolutionized our approach to sustainable energy production. Their importance in our quest for a greener planet cannot be overstated. So, how exactly does a handful of sand transform into these extraordinary energy converters? Let's delve into the fascinating process of how these incredible devices are made. The journey of a solar panel begins with something as simple as sand. Yes, you heard it right, sand. It's the primary source of silica, a key ingredient in the production of solar panels. To extract silica from sand, we need to heat it to a blistering 2000 degrees Celsius. This not only separates the silica but also purifies it. However, silicon derived from silica is not yet of a high enough grade for solar panel production. This is where the process of conversion comes into play. The purified silica is combined with carbon in an electric arc furnace. This produces metallurgical-grade silicon, a material that is up to 99% pure. But we don't stop there. To achieve the desired purity for solar panels, this metallurgical-grade silicon undergoes further purification. The result? Solar-grade silicon, a material that's over 99.9999% pure. Now, with our silicon ready, we can move on to the next stage. Now we enter the melting phase. This is where our silicon, mined from the earth as sand, begins its transformation. The process sees the silicon placed into a furnace, a kind of modern alchemical crucible, where it faces temperatures reaching 2000 degrees Celsius. Yes, you heard that right. 2000 degrees, that's hotter than the surface of Venus, the hottest planet in our solar system. This intense heat melts the silicon down into a molten state, but that's not all that's happening. As the silicon melts, it also purges itself of impurities. Elements that could hamper the efficiency of our future solar panels, things like iron and aluminium, are banished in this fiery cleansing. What we're left with is pure molten silicon, a substance ready to harness the power of the sun. With our purified molten silicon, we're ready for the next step. From liquid to solid, our silicon is about to take shape. After melting the silicon, we're now moving on to the next step, forming silicon ingots. This transformation is quite fascinating. It's like watching a caterpillar metamorphose into a butterfly, but in our case, it's silicon. So how does this happen? Well, it's achieved through a slow cooling process. The molten silicon is poured into a mold, typically a large cylindrical one. The silicon then gradually cools and solidifies, taking the shape of the mold. This forms what we call a silicon ingot. The cooling process is slow and controlled, ensuring the silicon crystallizes in a uniform, orderly pattern. This pattern is important as it affects the efficiency of the solar cells that will be created from the ingot. This process is a bit like baking a cake. It might be a slow process, but the end result is definitely worth the wait. Our silicon ingots are now ready to be sliced into wafers. Now, it's time to cut these ingots into thin slices. This is where our diamond wire saw comes into play. As the name suggests, this saw uses a thin wire coated in diamond dust. Why diamond, you ask? Well, diamonds are one of the hardest materials on Earth, making them perfect for slicing through silicon ingots. The diamond wire saw slices the ingot, creating wafers as thin as a human hair. This process is quite delicate and requires great precision. Even the slightest miscalculation or error can result in a wafer that's unusable. But when done correctly, the result is a perfectly thin, smooth wafer of pure silicon, ready for the next steps in the solar panel creation process. These wafers will soon become the heart of a solar cell, ready to harness the power of the sun and transform it into usable energy. With our wafers ready, we're now set to create the solar cells. Let's transform these wafers into solar cells. The magic happens when we apply metal conductors to the wafers. These conductors serve an essential role in the solar cell's operation. They create a pathway for the electrons to travel, enabling the conversion of sunlight into electricity. The process begins by coating the wafer with a layer of phosphorus. This is done through a method known as diffusion. The phosphorus introduces additional electrons into the silicon, creating a negative charge. This forms what is known as the N layer. Next, an anti-reflective coating is applied. This ensures that the maximum amount of sunlight is absorbed rather than reflected away. Lastly, the metal conductors are screen printed onto the wafer. These conductors form a grid-like pattern, allowing the free electrons to flow. This flow of electrons is what we call electricity, and voila! Our solar cells are ready. Let's see how they fit into the final product. We're at the final stage. Let's assemble our solar panel. This process is akin to putting together the pieces of a puzzle, except this puzzle can harness the power of the sun. The assembly process starts with a base layer, often a sheet of glass, which provides a sturdy structure and protection for the solar cells. The solar cells, those little powerhouses we created earlier, are then meticulously placed onto this base. They are arranged in a grid-like pattern, each one connected to its neighbor, forming an electric circuit. This is essentially the heart of the solar panel, where sunlight will be converted into electricity. Once our grid of cells is in place, we can't just leave them exposed to the elements. These cells are delicate and they need protection. This is where the encapsulant comes in. The encapsulant is a special material that is layered over the cells. It seals them off from the outside world, protecting them from moisture, dust, and any physical damage. Finally, we add the backsheet and frame, which provide additional protection and give the panel its recognizable look. The panel is then wired up, ready to soak up the sun's rays and convert them into usable energy. And there you have it, the journey from simple sand to a functioning solar panel. Harnessing the power of the sun has never been more sophisticated.